Welcome to the Common Ground podcast, where stories connect, perspectives collide, and purpose is found in the middle.
Every week, we sit down with unique and inspiring guests that come from all walks of life, people who challenge the status quo, overcome the odds, and live with intentionality.
Whether you're driving to work, on your morning walk, or just looking for that spark to ignite your week, you're in the right place.
Welcome to the Common Ground podcast with your hosts, John Fletcher and Sydney.
Hello. Welcome everybody to the Common Ground podcast and our Monday night happy hour. How is everybody doing tonight?
Hanging in there, Philly. How are you? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you too. And give me 1 second. I'm just making sure we are good to go. If everybody who is watching can share the live and can just share it to whatever platform you can.
If you haven't been here before, John's not good at multitasking.
It's the whole beginning of the show that I struggle with. I need an assistant. That's what I need. Really, I need an assistant. I need somebody who can just do this for me, so I can just focus on.
What am I here for?
If
you can't multitask, I can. I'm capable of saying that. I was sharing it too.
So I know that I've seen us live on YouTube and Facebook. I did not check LinkedIn.
You're funny.
So let's see if I can see us on LinkedIn. But yes, we are live. Okay, awesome. That's what I love to see. So today we have with us a very special guest. And 1 second. Okay. And her name is Xanet Pailet. Hello, Xanet. How are you doing?
Hello. Hi, John. Hi, Sydney. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday indeed. I love the spelling of your name.
Oh, thank you.
So you want to tell everybody about yourself while I finish setting stuff up?
Hi, everybody. I'm Xanet Pailet. I'm a sex and intimacy educator and coach. I'm a trauma practitioner. I'm the author of 2 books. The one is Living an Orgasmic Life, and my new book that just came out is called The Sex and Intimacy Repair Kit: How to Enhance Communication and Create a Lifetime of Passionate Intimacy. And I'm really, really passionate about helping couples who are struggling in their relationship or in their sex life learn how to really reconnect with each other, and to create the intimacy and passion that maybe they had in the beginning, but kind of faded over time.
Very nice. And Xanet, how did you get into this line of work?
Oh, so I got into this line of work. So I'm a lawyer, healthcare lawyer by training. But I was also lawyering and living in essentially a sexless marriage for over 2 decades. And so getting into this line of work really came out of me doing my own work around my own sexual issues and, trauma that I had, and then realizing that it was such a powerful transformation for me, Sydney, that I really just wanted to be able to spread the word and do the work and help other women and couples who were in the same situation that I was. So I'd like to say I'm a wounded healer, like many of us are.
I like that.
And her episode will be available tomorrow at 9 a.m. On YouTube at the Common Ground Project USA, and at Spotify and at Apple at the Common Ground Podcast. But since we had such a great time last week, and the feedback from last week's show was that everybody enjoyed the game. We have another version of the same game, to give you an idea, that we are going to play with Shanae and everybody here. So let me share our screen and tell you what the game is.
Oh boy, I love games.
Very creative when it comes to them.
And let's see.
Oh, I like the name.
So how do I take off this poll so that it's not widgets?
How do you what?
The poll. There you go.
Oh.
So everybody can see. So yes, it's our own version of red light, green light, light, but we tailor it to every guest in every episode. We don't always play red light, yellow light, green light, but it was a pretty popular one last time. So what you will, if this is your first time here, it is very viewer engaged. We want you to comment. We want your questions. We want you to participate. So we will give you scenarios, and you're going to say, and it's called Under the Sheets because instead of red light, green light, yellow light, we're going to go green sheet, red sheet, or yellow sheet, because the sheets are on the bed in the bedroom. So so it's Under the Sheets game, right? So yeah. So comment on either Facebook, Instagram, not Facebook. Hey, long time to talk. What's up, Zach? How you doing?
Way too long.
So yeah, comment either red sheet, green sheet, yellow sheet on either Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, and our comments will be up there. And give us your point of view. Just don't stop at the red sheet, green sheet, yellow sheet. Tell us why you feel that way. So we're going to get right into it. We're gonna ask everybody to participate, and the first scenario is one partner keeps hoping their intimacy will improve, but they never actually talk about it with their partner.
Okay. I'm gonna go yellow.
Yellow. Okay.
Yellow sheet. You should be sorry, Zach. I've been waiting for you to send me a carrier pigeon or smoke signals of some kind.
For me, I'm going to say red sheet.
Red sheet. All right, and to our professional, is this a red sheet, yellow sheet, or green sheet?
Okay, I don't think I understand your delineation here.
Okay, it's like Simon says. So green, it's like relationships where they say that's a red flag in a relationship or a green flag in a relationship.
Oh,
so yellow is just kind of that in between. So red would be this is bad. We don't like this for relationships, like altogether blanket.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That was really confusing. This would be a red sheet for me. I think it's if you don't talk about your concerns with your partner, they're never actually going to get addressed, and you're likely to build up resentment. It's not a red sheet in terms of like it's going to kill the relationship immediately, but it definitely could be on a trajectory of, oh, this is going in the wrong way because I don't feel comfortable enough talking to my partner about this. So I could see why you named it a yellow sheet.
Yeah, that's exactly why I named it a yellow sheet, was because I feel like sometimes when partners don't feel that they can actually talk about it with their partner, it's not a direct reflection of unwillingness. Maybe it's uncomfortability, not having the right space, not knowing how to set the space for that. So I don't think that it's exactly like it's just a blanket statement. This is a red flag against this person collectively. Maybe you don't have the right partner. Maybe it's not the right setting. Maybe you haven't learned how to have this type of communication.
Yeah, I hear that. I could probably change my vote to a yellow sheet.
So what do you, in your experience with this, Zach, I like your devil's advocate. Now I want you to make a case for why it could be a green sheet.
Yeah, let's hear that. I'm curious about that too.
Right. Okay, so tell us in your experience, whether it's yellow or red or somewhere in that in between, how do you coach people through dealing with something like this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we start by really trying to create an understanding of why it's really important to be able to have this type of communication with your partner, right? Because nothing's going to change if you don't bring it up. And it's likely going to just continue or get worse. So, I think for a lot of couples, Sydney, like talking about sex is really uncomfortable.
Sure.
And they're really afraid that if they bring it up, they're going to get blamed or there's going to be shame and it's going to create a lot of drama. But if you don't talk about it, you're never going to be able to resolve it, right? So bringing it up kind of in like a nice, gentle way, as opposed to like, we haven't had sex in 6 months and I'm pissed at you kind of thing would not go over well,
Do you find that most people wait that long to start talking about it? Like when they come, is that like a common thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. 6 months would be an early time to start not having had a conversation. Sometimes they'll wait till 9 months or a year because it's so uncomfortable. And then the more distance that you have, the longer that you haven't actually had sex with your partner, the more uncomfortable it starts getting, right? So it is not uncommon for people not to talk about it because in the beginning you think like, oh, there's something going on with him or there's something going on with her, or we're just in that phase. Couples go through phases, right? We go in and out of connection, disconnection, and then at some point you're like, oh, wait a second, this is actually a problem. But that may be 6 months before you actually get to that, depending upon where you are, in your life journey as a couple.
Interesting. John, what do you have to add to that, if anything?
So if your goal is to make $1 million and you're at $250,000, are you going to keep your mouth shut? If you're working together with somebody to make that $1 million, or are you going to speak about it? I think a lot of times we're more willing to talk about everything else but sex. And I think the whole old thing, closed mouth doesn't get fed, kind of saying that if you just keep hoping your intimacy will improve without ever speaking up, I think it's going to be pretty blunt, but you're delusional. Because I don't think it'll just if somebody isn't pleasing you, they're not all of a sudden going to be like, wow, I'm not pleasing her, let me try something different. They're going to keep on doing the same old. And so I think, it takes having sometimes uncomfortable conversations to improve. And again, if there's other issues like I'm afraid how they'll react, then it's either trust issues or it's fear issues. There's other kind of issues other than that.
Yeah, and I think I would also say that there are couples that have been married for 10 years, 15 years that have never really, until they get to my office 15 years later, have really had, maybe they're still having intimacy and still having sex, but they've never really had a conversation about what they want, what they don't want, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, right? Like, it's just not, it's a lot more common than I think we realize, that people just are not able to talk about this subject. It's a very hard subject to talk about for a lot of couples.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always been the other person, like, hope is what gets you through everything. Hope doesn't get you through everything with this.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's go to the next one. A couple only brings up sex when they're already fighting about something else.
I'm going to go yellow again.
I'm going to go, again, red, but I can almost see the yellow on this one.
John loves red flags.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm somewhere between a red and yellow on this one as well. I don't know that that's. I'm not sure I understand. A couple only brings up sex, like that sex isn't good when they're already fighting about something else. That it actually triggers them to bring up that conversation. Again, I think it's related to probably being uncomfortable with the subject and not wanting to get into more conflict. But maybe they're thinking, well, we're already in conflict. Let's just unpack everything that we are upset about with each other, which often happens, right? Like you're upset about one thing, but really there's this thing and that thing and all of these other things. And underneath it, there's one thing, right, which is common to all of the arguments you're having. Right. You're feeling disconnected from each other. You're not feeling seen, whatever that relational issue is underneath all of those arguments.
Mm-hmm. All right. So audience that has commented red, yellow, green, whatever you commented, tell us why in the comments. Makeup sex isn't very satisfying, Zach says.
I would say you're not having the right kind of makeup sex.
Somebody to say it? I was thinking.
I'm just saying.
Oh shit! It's gonna be a Monday. Okay.
Again, I did it again.
You did do it. You did. I'm not that red. Shut up. Okay, John, you said red, right? Red flag?
I said red, but I can go to yellow. And yellow is at least that they're bringing it up.
Here's what I think. I think that people that are inherently, like speaking from my psychology background, people that are inherently conflict avoidant have a tendency to wait until conflict happens where they're already uncomfortable to allow the lid to come off and everything comes out. Is that a good thing? No. Is that a communication issue and an opportunity for growth in how we develop our communication with our partner? 100%. Does that automatically make it a red flag? I'm going to say no, because I think that is where they feel that they have the space to be like, this has been an issue and I don't know how to talk to you about it. I would rather it come out in that setting than if it's not going to come out in the appropriate setting, I would rather it come out at all. Because if we're dealing with underlying issues, like, let's get to the core of it.
Yeah, Lexi, I agree.
Yeah. He just like a long pause. Yeah, that's fine. After he just told Zach he's not having the right kind of makeup sex, he's like, yeah, that's No.
I was reading Lexi's comment. Sorry. That's why the pause was. I was actually processing her comment.
We're going to have to work on this multitasking thing.
But no, that's kind of what my point was, right? That at least it's coming out, It's not good that when it's coming out, but it's good that it's coming out. The sad part is it's probably not going to get addressed at that point because you're fighting about something else.
Right, and that's typically what happens, though, right? Like we have a whole bunch of things we're upset about, right? And when you get in a conflict, you're like, but what about the time we did this? And we're not having, right? Because there's just all of this anger and resentment underneath all of these conflicts. It's probably the same conflict underneath whatever you're fighting about. It's the same feeling for all of the conflicts, right? But it just provides the opportunity for all of this just to come out. And I agree, at least it's coming out. You're probably not going to talk about it. You might even trigger each other more, but at least it's now on the table. So there can be further conversation or discussion around it.
I just want to point out one more thing and we can go to the next one, but it's like, there's a lot of layers to peel back now. Zach, that's the truth. Lexi says, I feel like it opens the door for uncomfortable conversation. People see this word fighting and they think that it inherently means something negative. Like that confrontation is inherently a negative thing. Okay. So like fighting might be inherently negative, but confrontation is not inherently a negative word. So the reason that it's yellow is because if we read this exact same sentence and say a couple only brings up sex when they're already in a confrontation about something else, confrontation itself is not inherently a bad thing. It means that we have the opportunity to have constructive conversation about things that we have been dealing with that we haven't had the appropriate time or space to discuss. So sure, when you put it this way and you say we're fighting about something else, it's a yellow flag. If we're in this debate or having discussion about something that has built tension in the relationship, it might be a green flag. That is the appropriate space to bring something up that we have a disagreement about. I don't feel like we're on the same wavelength about this.
So let me give you an example, and you can tell me what kind of flag then this is. You know, I've told you how many times not to leave the toilet seat open, and you will not have sex with me on the washing machine anymore. What is up with that?
That's when it's like, well, ever since my hip surgery, it doesn't. I've had hip surgery. I'm 28, but.
Ooh.
Okay, next.
Partners agreed to schedule intimacy, but one of them secretly feels like it makes things too planned and never says anything.
Zach says, so maybe the sex allows for cooler heads to prevail. Okay. Partners
No comment.
to schedule intimacy when a blah, blah, blah. Okay, which partner? That's relevant to this question.
I don't know. What partner do you want it to be?
I don't have a preference. I'm not biased in this situation. My automatic knee-jerk reaction is green to yellow.
I agree. I think the fact that they're scheduling intimacy is good, right? Because I think that's something that's actually very helpful to maintain a healthy sex life, and something I always recommend to all of my clients. The fact that it feels too planned and they never say anything, that sort of goes back to question number one, right? Like, you know, being able to have the communication and the safety, really, the emotional safety to be able to say, like, let's talk about this. It's feeling like, you know, it's not as spontaneous as I would like it to be. And can we figure out ways to maybe address some of my concerns around this, right? So I think it's an opportunity to put some real issues on the table and have a good conversation around it. Rather than just building up resentment, because like when you don't say something, you kind of start building up resentment around it too. And we know that that's, you know, not a healthy thing for a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for me, it's all dependent on what scheduled means. If scheduled, so no, listen. If scheduled means at 8:59, you meet me here and we're doing it here and that's it. That's not cool unless it's some kind of like role-playing thing. B, if it's the kids are, you know, let's plan to do it after the kids go to bed tonight, then it's still not, it's planned, but it's not planned. It's flexible. It's
flexible.
It's not like, I don't know. I feel like if I'm planning something down to a T, it's like forcing me to eat vegetables. You know, it's like
that's not a fair comparison. John doesn't eat anything.
Well, I do eat some stuff.
No, you eat pasta. I'm not.
That's going into a beyond PG thing here. So
pasta is more PG than what we're talking about.
No. I said I do eat some things, but I don't want to go too far.
Okay, I get it. It was like, okay. Zach said, if you have a very scheduled.
Hold on 1 second.
What? Oh, he's dealing with something. Zach says, if you have a very scheduled and planned out lifestyle, sex could be one more thing that gets scheduled. I think I'm with you, Xanet, on this. I think that intimacy is something that requires scheduling more so when you're at certain phases of life. Should it be always? No. But especially for people, and I'm not a sex therapist, so I can't like speak to this, but if somebody hasn't had sex with their partner for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, longer than that, it's probably something that requires some intentionality, is what I would imagine, for that first little while you're working on reconnecting. So having that, like, and I'm with John in the sense that it probably doesn't look like 8:59, this time, this place kind of thing. But this is the time that we're going to be alone. This is our intention, and allowing it to develop organically and enjoying your partner in that space and in that time probably makes more sense than the people that just haven't connected throughout their daily lifestyle for that duration of time.
Yeah, and I think what happens is, like, our lives get really busy with kids and work and families and all sorts of other stuff. And if we don't have some intentionality around connection with our partner, it doesn't happen.
Sure.
Right? It just, when you put on your calendar that you've got to get to your kid's soccer game, or you're going out to dinner with your friends, you're saying, like, this is important to me. This is a priority. So isn't this primary relationship one of the most important things in our life? So that's how I look at it, right? Like, I think it says to each other, this is important to us. We're gonna maybe we meet every week on Monday and we look at our schedules and we say, what would be a good time this week, like, for us to have some connection time, without any pressure on what it actually means, right? It doesn't have to be sex. It could be we're just going to cuddle, or we're going to read an erotic book together. Who knows? But I do think it makes a statement in the relationship itself. And knowing how overscheduled everybody is, yeah, I see couples that do it. Put it on the calendar. They tend to have more spontaneous sex as well, because it's currently, something that everybody is sort of into and enjoying, and it happens more frequently. Like, good sex begets good sex. That's one of my sayings. So, yeah.
That makes sense. Zach says sex has always been a spontaneous thing for me. He wants everyone to know that his sex life is phenomenal. So thank you. We're happy for you, Zach. Robert, good to see you again.
So just a side note, that was my daughter who called me, and I'm like, oh my God, maybe she's watching this episode.
Was it Mercy?
It was Mercy, but she wasn't watching it live. So
that's hilarious.
I was like, okay, maybe I'm about to get yelled at or something.
No way. All right.
Or I'm embarrassing my children or something, but
next.
It wasn't that. Hi, Robert. Sorry I missed the conversation that was going on.
It's okay. We forgive you.
All right. The next one is, one partner thinks their low desire means they're broken and never tells their partner how ashamed they feel. Get over it. No, I'm only kidding.
You're so funny. Hilarious. Okay. Xanet, what do you think?
I mean, again, this would be like somewhere for me between a yellow, and a red. It's definitely not a green, right? Like, they're aware that there's a desire discrepancy between the two of them, and they feel broken. And feeling broken kills desire. Feeling broken kills your sex life. Feeling broken creates a lot of shame, right? I know that. I felt broken in a sexless marriage. And it's a really hard place to be. And, like, the feeling that came up for me was like, oh, I'm so sorry that you're feeling that way, right? And I think if they could share that with their partner and get some empathy, that could really help shift things for them.
This is different for me because it's like, so you can read this two ways just based on the wording. One partner thinks that their low desire, so their own low desire, means
that's how I read it.
So then on the flip side of that, like, their partner's low desire means that they are broken and they never tell their partner how ashamed they feel. So I think that this could be a two-way street, and I'm only saying that to just expand the horizon of this. I think that it's a really solid yellow flag either way. Like, I don't think that this is a reflection of the individual per se. I think that this is a communication discrepancy again, which is so much of relationships, given that 98% of our communication is nonverbal. So especially when it comes to sex and intimacy, if we're expressing love for our partner via physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, time, gifts, like, these are the 5 main love languages. So if we're not giving our partner some of those forms of validation, especially in intimacy, in crucial foundational relationships like this, then I don't necessarily think that it's a reflection of the relationship or the individual. I think that this goes back to, what are our partner's love languages? What are our love languages? Are we expressing those? Do we know how to express those? Do we need a mediator in this space like Xanet?
Yeah, there's a couple things that really strike out with this. And first of all, side note, Zachary, the internet was made for embarrassing moments. Totally agree with you. But the fact that I think it all depends on well, I think there's sensitivities. There, like, some people could come into relationships with prior sensitivities, and so somebody's can be overly sensitive, worrying about, maybe I'm broken, or I'm not. But I think it does. I think it lends for help by somebody like Shanae. It The one thing I would want to say is that just because you're having low desire now doesn't mean that's where you're stuck.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean that it's always has to be there, and that even if there is some kind of like physical issue, that's getting in the way of stuff, we live in an age where there's toys, where there's different things that can always be added into helping somebody else out, and yeah, I just, not to get too graphic or anything, I think, there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah, and I think I agree with that. And I also think like why their desire is low is something that I get curious about, right? Is it like they're going through a hormonal issue, which both women and men go through? Is it that, they had sexual trauma that's come back up, right? Also a big issue that could affect desire. Is it that they're feeling a lot of pressure from their partner to have a lot of sex, but they don't know how to haze it, right? There's just a whole bunch of different reasons that the desire could be low. And I think you have to actually try to unpack that and understand that before you can try to solve this issue.
Before we go into a game, how do you, or what do you recommend if one person is more how do I phrase it, sexual than the other person? I think there's been times, well, I feel like I'm a very, like, I enjoy sex. I enjoy lots of sex. So like sometimes I know you'll be with somebody and they'll be like, dude, I don't need it that many times. I only need it once a week, but the other partner needs it 4 times a week. And I've heard people go, well, I'll just do it because that's what my partner needs. I don't need it, but I don't. And so they're not really doing it for their pleasure. They're doing it for other. How does all that work, and how do you deal with those kind of situations?
Okay, so that's a great question. I think it kind of depends on whether the person with the lower desire feels good about having more sex because their partner wants it, or whether they're feeling obligated to do it, right? So I think that I want people to come from a place of, I'm a hell yes. It could be for a lot of reasons. I'm a hell yes because it feels good for me eventually when we get into it. I'm a hell yes because I really, this feels good for my partner and I really want to be there for my partner. But I think if I'm not sure, or I'm just doing this to service them, that tends to build up a lot of resentment as well. So I think you have to look at it from that perspective. And I think there's also ways in which you can be with your partner, but you don't have to engage with them sexually. Like you can, if you're the woman or you're the man, like you can watch them masturbate, you can touch them while they're masturbating, you can be in the experience with them, but you're not responsible for their orgasm. You're not responsible for their pleasure. I believe that pretty strongly, that we're responsible for our own pleasure. So I think there's, a couple of different ways you can definitely look at that.
And if you guys ever have any questions while we're playing this game, feel free to ask away. A couple has great teamwork with kids, chores, and careers, but avoids talking about what they really want in the bedroom.
Yellow. All of these are yellow for me for the most part.
Yellow means hello. Let's talk about it.
Yellow, hello.
Yeah, I would agree. This is a very typical scenario. We're great parents, right? Like, we're good friends. What this question doesn't say whether they're having sex or not having sex. But if they are, but they're just not talking about what they really want in the bedroom, then again, there's opportunity to communicate around it and to be able to open up that conversation.
One partner believes that if their partner really loved them, they would just know what they want sexually. No conversation needed.
That one's I don't know. This one is kind of a mixed thing for me.
Between what and what?
Yellow and green, because I feel like it depends on your communication. If you're already having like a dysfunctional relationship, then saying that you just expect your partner to know what you want in this capacity is probably more of a yellow flag. It goes back to that a lot of this is rooted in communication. I think that if you have well-established communication and there are partners where your partner does know you really well. Maybe they're uncomfortable having that same conversation and you guys are both kind of anticipating that you'll figure it out together. So I think that it goes way back to, hey, Shabazz, miss you, Malik. I think it goes way back to what is the relationship dynamic outside of the sexual or intimate part of the relationship look like to determine if this is a red, green, or yellow flag. It's like, what does this look like just to people that you have dinner with, right? Then I'd have more of an accurate, if you're anticipating your partner to understand what you want, I feel like I'd be able to answer that more honestly.
I like that. I like that assessment. I don't know that I can give it any color.
Yeah,
because of what Cindy just said, right? It's like, what is happening in the context of the rest of the relationship, right? You could look at it as this is a really big red flag because there's a lot of conflict and they have no way to communicate. Or maybe it's like a green flag because they feel really connected and they feel like their partner does know what they want. So yeah, I think this is a hard one to rate for me.
John, what would you say?
My philosophy is that if you're more focused on pleasing the other person and if both parties are more focused on pleasing the other person, then both people end up, pretty satisfied. So I think for me, like, I'm always trying to find spots, For me, I'm always asking questions. So for me, I don't know, but that this thing does trigger me because like I this was a big issue in not in the bedroom, but in every other aspect of my marriage. It was like, well, you would know me and I would constantly ask questions and never get answers. And some people just use that, well, you would know me. You would just know by deflecting and wanting and not wanting to answer and trying to make the other person feel bad or feel unworthy or something. Was up point blank. Red because somebody is selfish and not paying attention. That's where I would disagree. Sometimes, and even in the other aspects of that marriage, I was trying to pay attention. I was trying to ask questions. They just put up walls by, it's like, well, if you knew me, you'd know. And it's like, I'm asking you the question. So I'm trying to figure out what it is. Well, and so that kind of like sets me off on that kind of response always, you would just know.
Unless you meant that somebody's being selfish and not paying attention, like that they shouldn't expect their partner to, they're not paying attention to the fact that their partner can't read their mind, or they're being selfish by expecting their partner to be able to read their mind. I don't know how they meant that when they said that, but I'm with you in that capacity. I also think this goes back to what Xanet was talking about with sexual trauma, especially with people. And it's funny because this is something that I learned in my own life, but also just in college with psychology, is that people that are afraid to say no, that often bleeds into their sex life. And it could be without sexual trauma. It could be that they learned that in order to get someone's approval in their life, that they have to be the yes man. They don't like letting people down. So they don't say no in any capacity, whether they're comfortable with it or not. That same thing can go for people that are uncomfortable answering questions, that like don't respond well to questions about themselves. It's the same thing in a job interview where like they say, okay, tell me something that you're proud of. And some people just freeze. Like they don't know how to handle that because they don't know how to have the spotlight on them. Some people respond to that same stress trigger when it comes to a sexual perspective or an intimate perspective. They don't know how to cope with that because they haven't been taught how to allow themselves to be in that space.
Yeah, and I think also like you're not gonna, if you can't talk, if you can't tell your partner what you need, you cannot expect your partner to read your mind, right? Like that's just impossible. And, you know, nobody, what we want one day is totally different from what we want another day, right? We make these assumptions that like this worked yesterday, so you know this is what I think I need again, or I think you want again, and I think those set us up for failure and for disappointment actually, because our sexual needs are constantly changing and evolving, just like we're constantly changing and evolving. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think there's one other aspect too, is like, and this works on all types of life, that there are things that really excite us, that really we love doing. And guess what? We pay attention to those things a lot more than we pay attention to the things that are maybe fun to do or not fun to do. I'm sure we're paying less attention to the ones that are not fun to do. So I think there's different levels of paying attention that we provide dependent on what we get out of it. Kind of like your passion. If you're passionate about coaching, you're going to take in everything you can learn about coaching. If you're passionate about podcasting, you're going to develop the schools. I'm not going to pay attention the way I pay attention to podcasting stuff the way I do to cooking stuff. I can cook, but I'm not like, I don't want to read a book on cooking. I don't want to, I'm fine cooking the food that I like cooking, and that's good enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that also has to put into this, one person just may be that person who, okay, listen, I enjoy having sex once a week. I know you. I enjoy what we do. I'm not looking for more. But that's just
good conversation. It's a good conversation. It was an interesting question and very nuanced.
A partner says, I don't feel sexy anymore, and the other one immediately jumps in with solutions instead of listening. Well, we definitely know who the guy and who the girl is in this situation.
I don't think that it should be assigned a color. Is there a normal flag? What color is normal?
Yeah, I think this is looking at this from the, heteronormative point of view, right? Like, this is just what men do. They're fixers, right? They're problem solvers. This is what they were taught to be, as problem solvers. And this is just a natural reaction to being a problem solver, when in fact, really, you know, what their partner wants is for them just to like listen and be empathetic and hear them.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm thirsty. My favorite part, well, one of my favorite parts of White Man Can't Jump, when Rosie Perez goes to Woody Harrelson, I'm thirsty. And he goes up to get her a drink of water. I don't want that drink of water. You said you were thirsty. If I said I was thirsty, I'd be like, can someone please give me a glass of water? One person spends hours consuming intimacy content and tips online, but never experiments with even one small change in real life.
Red.
Wow.
Yeah, I think this is a red sheet as well, because it shows a very limited capacity for this person to actually change. And if you can't change, you can't grow, right? If that's annoying to their partner, if their partner is wanting something else to happen. But I just think from a personal growth perspective, it shows like this is a person that's really stuck. Like there's some barrier that they have to actually taking an action on something that presumably they want, because if they didn't want it, they wouldn't spend hours listening to podcasts and reading blogs and books and whatnot. So, you know, it's a challenge.
Could this be someone who just doesn't know where to start? Like sometimes you get information overload where you got all these great things, but I don't know where I should start.
Maybe, but you know, you could pick one. Maybe you've gotten 100 different, you know, possibilities. You could choose one and try it. Yeah, I mean, maybe they're overloaded themselves, right? They're somebody that needs to consume a lot of information. It's probably a certain personality type, somebody who really isn't very confident, right, and lacks confidence, and then is very challenged to be able to start making a change. I think, though, you know, on the flip side, they're probably somebody who could be open to doing work like with a coach or somebody, because they're already pretty steeped in personal development. Don't taken the step to actually implement. And there's a lot of people that get stuck in that I have all this information, but I don't know how to implement it. You know, avoidance, and also just like you said before, overwhelmed. So I guess it could go both ways. It's still a challenging, you know, there's opportunity, but it's a challenging place to be.
So probably if you're an introvert, you shouldn't be doing a whole bunch of research on public sex.
If you're an introvert?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. That might actually be a fantasy for you, right? And so maybe that's why you're doing all the research, because, you know, that's something that in your fantasy could help heal some of that introversion. So
I think that what Xanet said about it being it's showing a lack of capacity is the biggest thing. So when one person is engaging, whether it's hours or just like the frequency or duration or the type of content that it is engaging and consuming that type of content, but not expanding that to the relationship, that it can become a point of insecurity for the other partner, and that it can create a bigger communication gap.
So let me give you an example, though.
I am ready for this.
You're ready. This is a PG version, so don't worry. There was a movie called Drop Zone. Okay, back in the 80s.
What's it called?
Drop Zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was about, and it starred Wesley Snipes, and these guys would go out and jump out of airplanes and parachute. It was skydiving. It was a skydiving kind of movie, right? Dude, I'm like, dude, I would love to skydive. Love it. I'm afraid of heights. I'm never getting on a plane and jumping out of a thing. But I could definitely research skydiving. There's a definite fantasy that has me skydiving somewhere, but it's an unrealistic thing that I would ever do. So, I mean, I can see somebody spending hours consuming something that in their mind, they're like, dude, it actually sounds really, really, really cool. But I'm never going to be the guy to do it.
Let's just blatantly translate that, though. If a guy has a certain fantasy that he's never going to live out and is watching porn and his partner feels disrespected by that, then is it contributing positively to the relationship? Because skydiving is a lot fucking different than intercourse.
No. Listen, I'm 100%. I'm not saying it's healthy.
Okay,
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying that I'd rather jump out of a plane than be in that kind of relationship. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm just saying I can see where somebody comes from.
Put it that way. I'd jump out of a plane either way. Skydiving's on my bucket list, so.
My brother skydived. I would just
not indoor, like outdoor skydiving, because I can go indoor skydiving.
No. My brother's jumped out of a plane and skydived. I asked him if he would ever do it again. He said no, which definitely solidified my answer of never doing it. If he would have came back and said, dude, it was awesome, you know?
It was the best experience of my life.
it would probably inch me closer to jumping out of a plane, but I probably still would never do it.
I would never, ever do it.
In my mind, I would, though.
Well, that's good. You can have that fantasies.
A couple
You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and come from it.
That's what Zach's for. I don't know where Zach went, but that's what Zach's for.
A couple only touches each other when they're trying to initiate sex, never just to connect, cuddle, or be close.
Red flag.
I don't see it as a red flag. I would put it in the yellow category. Is it a problem? Yes. But, you know, I see it as a lot of people who just don't know that there are other ways to touch other than sexual touch, right? I see that a lot. Or a lot of miscommunication around that. So yeah, I see the red flag part. It's like, we're not very close with each other, so we don't like to connect and cuddle, and that's the emotional connection. So I see that, but I also say, well, there's probably some other things that are going on, and it may be that they've never really tried it, or, you know, one person wants to cuddle, but they're afraid that when they cuddle with their partner's going to want sex, right? Like there's been misinterpretation of the signal. So that's I guess somewhere between yellow and red.
Robert says, wait, what was the best in your life? Missed that part, was working on some notes. I don't know who said that, so I don't know. My mental log is out the window now.
I say things and forget them the next moment.
No, seriously. Like, sorry, Robert, you're dealing with a bunch of people that have ADHD here. I don't know what we were talking about. Okay.
But evidently it was the best part of our life.
It was the best part.
Now, I will admit, listen, there's times where I just want to cuddle, but even in those times, as soon as I start cuddling, dude, I want more. It for me, it just never wants to stay there.
And I think that's sometimes why they end up in that place, because it doesn't stay there, and then there's pressure, right? And then cuddling doesn't feel safe anymore. So,
see, if cuddling with your partner doesn't feel safe anymore, it's a red flag for the whole relationship with me. Like, if we don't know how to have intimacy that doesn't lead to sex, that's just, it feels, our whole society has become so sexualized. And I am concerned about the space between, am I saying that sex is wrong? No, not at all. Am I saying that it shouldn't if both people want it to? No, not necessarily. But if it can't just be connection outside of sex, then I would worry about that relationship dynamic.
I hear that.
So the Beacon from Point Blank Perspectives podcast says yellow for the touch one, could be two people who are not touchy-feely. That's actually a good point.
That's true.
Great point.
I would like to point out that sex is the most touchy-feely you could get. So I don't know that, like, I mean, I get it, but are we talking about two people that exist strictly for a legal document and actual penetration? Like, what are we talking about? What is the point of marriage?
Well,
outside
I
of-
mean, initiating sex, first of all, we could redefine sex as anything, right? It could be, I'm going to give you a sensual massage, and that's having sex. So again, it's a little,
yeah, that's a little.
it's a little bit unclear, right? They're trying to initiate sex. That is the way that they feel comfortable and connected with each other. And there are people, definitely, because I've worked with them, who really aren't comfortable with a lot of like touching. I mean, that's something that they didn't grow up with, or there was some way in which touching was unsafe. So I think there probably are some exceptions to that. So that's why I think I put it more in the yellow reddish zone. But I agree, it's certainly a signal that is something that needs to be looked at in the relationship if that's something that they both want, or one of them wants and the other one isn't getting, right? Everybody gets to define their relationship the way they want to define their relationship. There's no like right way to do relationship, and I think that's true around that as well. What's right for you, Sydney, might not be okay for somebody. It might be totally fine for somebody else. That's my point.
No, that's fine. And I'm just talking about from like a symptomatic perspective that when you look at psychology says that's probably not a good thing. Like just all of psychology says that we should probably look at connection disorders, like attachment style disorders. We should look at why that is. And because it's compatible doesn't mean that it's functional.
Yeah, I think
Sydney,
that's true, but go ahead.
But Sydney, also look at the 5 love languages. What's one of the 5 love languages? Physical touch. So that may not be somebody's love language.
Right. That's my point. Sex is physical touch. So you can't say that one doesn't exist without the other.
I think they're different, though. There's a different, for people sometimes have a different perspective when they're actually like having sex and there's erotic energy versus when they're holding each other and cuddling, definitely. Right? Like there's definitely like
happening on a psychological level and chemical level.
Yeah, different types, definitely different types of touch. And yeah, I think, it does signal like, oh, that's something, as a coach, it's like, oh, I'm kind of curious about that. Let's talk about that. Is that something that you want? Is it something that one of you is like holding back on and the other one is really wanting and desiring and it's not happening? So yeah, I think there's some ways to look at it.
Oh, I didn't realize what time it was.
Ooh. Yeah, no, I have more, but it's coming close to the end. What would be some of your things that you would want people to know about intimacy that they may not consider or may have not taken the time to really think about, on a more normal level, not just a specific couple,
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, so I think what's important from my perspective to understand around intimacy, that it is around emotional safety and connection, and also that a lot of intimacy skills, most intimacy skills can be learned. Some of us grew up with, not that many of us, but some of us grew up where parents really modeled what good intimacy looks like, but most of us didn't. And I think everybody needs to understand that both with respect to like emotional connection and emotional intimacy and sexual intimacy, these are all skills that can be learned. This is not above anybody's pay grade. We're all able to learn how to be emotionally intimate, how to be vulnerable, how to express feelings. For some people, it'll come easier than others, but these are all things that we can learn, just like we can learn different ways to touch our partners, different sexual styles that we enjoy. This is all education that is available to everyone.
Awesome. Well, where can people find you, connect with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on my website, which is Passionate Intimacy Retreats with an S.com, passionateintimacyretreats.com. And of course, you can listen to our podcast where we go deeply into this tomorrow.
Yep. Episode releases tomorrow.
Yes, and for all of you that are watching, if you please can take a couple minutes to subscribe, especially to our YouTube. We do have a goal of making 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, so that helps us. It helps us get seen more. Helps the algorithm pick us up and get us to more people. But yeah, you can find us at the Common Ground Project USA. We are here every Monday at 6 p.m. where we try to have the guest whose podcast is coming out the next day on to have fun, lighthearted. We try to have a lot of fun and everything. So, and then you can always watch the episodes Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. We thank you for being here. Thank you, Xanet, for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Cindy. This was fun.
It was great to
Thanks,
meet
everyone. Yeah, nice to meet you too.
If you have any kind of suggestions on games or anything that you want to play, please let us know. We do now have a post section on our YouTube page where we post polls. We ask questions that, we are trying to build more of a community on YouTube. Find us there. We have lives, we have shorts, we have our podcast. Check it out. Check out that YouTube page.
Lori, Robert, Danielle, Heath, everybody else who hopped on. It was great to see you.
Yes, the Beacon from the Point Blank Perspectives podcast. Yeah. Another great podcast for you guys to check out. Check them out. All right. As you know, when we take the time to hear somebody's stories, it gives us the opportunity to find common ground. Thank you, Xanet, for being our guest tonight. For Cindy and myself, it has been our pleasure being your host. And you have been watching the Monday Happy Hour live. Have a great night. God bless and good night.
Hey. Awesome.